The Broncos face the winless Lions in Detroit on Sunday night. Should be a shootout. Despite the unbeaten start, Peyton Manning has the worst total QBR among the 9 QBs, currently 2-0. And he has the 4th worst QBR in the NFL this season. But the good news is he's Peyton Manning. And for the Broncos, Manning is 3-0 career against the Lions, all while playing for the Colts. Coach.
Yes.
Pick it. Who wins? Colts, Lions. Broncos, Lions, excuse me.
Oh, Denver. Their defense, if you watch how these guys are playing defense right now, Wade Phillips really has done a fabulous job with a talented defense. These guys were pretty good last year, but now the way they're playing, they're taking the ball away in bunches. They're not allowing you a lot of points. They're playing very good in known situations. Third downs right now are off the charts, only 10%. And in the red zone, only 20. This is why the point total's down. As we watch this offense struggle with the Denver Broncos, although I saw something last game that was kind of unique.
What?
When they struggled early in the offense that Coach Kubiak wants to run, he decided, you know what? Let me just put Peyton Manning in the gun, and you just go ahead and get us out of this mess. That's right.
You
got him out of the mess.
Yep.
Do I think he's the Peyton Manning of 2 or 3 years ago? No. Going forward, I want to see how they continue to play offense. But in Peyton's favor right now, he has a defense that is going to allow him a short field, and the defense has won the first 2 games, by the way. They've scored twice. They scored the first game of the season toward the end, and they make the big play against Kansas City at the end and win another game. So this defense is really the forefront of how they're playing, and hopefully Peyton Manning and his offense can figure out who they want to be. They have no identity right now. Half of Kubiak's offense, half of his Peyton's offense, and you can see there's a struggle. It's not turmoil, but there's a struggle. What do we want to do? And last week, Kubiak kind of gave in. He said, you know what? We're not moving the ball. Can you go back there and just call it from the line of scrimmage, just kind of do what you do? So I want to see where it goes after this.
Yep. Stephen A.?
With everything Coach said about Peyton Manning, and Skip has been saying it as well, so kudos to both of you guys. Peyton Manning doesn't seem to be himself, but obviously that has a lot to do with the offense that he's been asked to execute, and Gary Kubiak ultimately leaned on him out of that shotgun in order to help save the day. But the defense has been absolutely phenomenal at particular junctures throughout this early part of the season thus far. Denver's defense looks incredibly impressive, but the reason why the subject of the Denver Broncos doesn't necessarily interest me that much in this particular game, guys, is simply because of this. It doesn't matter that much because based on the Lions team that we're seeing, it's a shell of itself. It's back to the days where Schwartz was the head coach. Jim Caldwell doesn't seem to have his fingerprints on this franchise right now. The loss of Ndamukong Suh and Fairley and those boys clearly has affected this defense. When you look at the Lions right now, they're ranked 28th in the league defensively, 24th against the pass, 28th against the rush, 30 in yards allowed. They gave up 199 yards rushing to the Minnesota Vikings last week. They seem to be a shell of themselves. That's defensively. Offensively, guys, do you realize that Antonio Brown for the Pittsburgh Steelers has more catches and more yards than Megatron, Calvin Johnson, and Golden Tate combined in the first 2 games? Combined. He has just as many receptions because they have 22 combined, Megatron 12, Golden Tate 10, and he has more yards, or actually more than 100 yards. They've got like a 222 yards combined, something like that on the season, and Antonio Brown has 328. Now, we know Antonio Brown is great. We understand the job that he's doing with Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh, but this is Megatron we're talking about, with a guy that can throw the football in Matt Stafford, even though he's not big Ben Roethlisberger. He's good enough. The combination of him and Golden Tate, particularly due to the fact that you don't have a power runner because you got Jacques Bell and you've got Amir Abdullah out of Nebraska there as your running backs right now, and Abdullah's averaging over 4 yards a carry. But the point is, guys and girls, here's the deal. You have no power running game. Your receivers aren't doing but so much. Your quarterback is only completing 61% of its passes, and your defense is a shell of what we've known them to be throughout recent memory when Ndamukong Suh was on that defensive line along with Fairley. So the combination of all of those things seems to me like the bigger issue here is not whether or not Peyton Manning and those guys are going to get it together, because with his IQ, his football IQ, the cerebral approach he has to the game, with the intelligence that Gary Kubiak knows along with John Elway to give the ding to Peyton Manning when all else fails, and with that defense looking better, I think it's safe to say that the Denver Broncos, win, lose, or draw, are going to be just fine. It's the fact that we're looking at a Detroit Lions team, and we're saying to ourselves, who the hell are these guys? We don't recognize Stafford. Maybe we do recognize him, but we don't recognize Megatron. Golden Tate was supposed to be doing a better job. It would have been nice for them to have a better running game, offense and defensively. Detroit has problems, and they had better fix it, because it's going to be after they're 0-3. Because the way they're looking right now, the only reason we have any clue as to whether or not they could beat Denver is because they'd have home field advantage at Ford Field, and that's a good crowd when they get on your side and really try to rally the troops. And Detroit plays a little bit differently on their home turf. But they're not in the same class as Denver right now. They seem to be all over the place, which is shocking when you consider the fact that Jim Caldwell is their coach. We expected better. We're not getting that right now.
Wow. you know, today, you are really impressive. I got to give you kudos. You are Stephen A. Stats today. I've never heard anything like it. I got to get me a researcher like yours, because yours is really good.
Stop right now. The person who deserves credit for all of that is Skip, because, Coach, literally, Skip Bayless has me at home. I'm literally watching tape and studying because I have to debate this.
You were doing a good job the first weekend in the room with us when we were watching games. You were visiting with me, and you were
helping me too.
He was taking notes.
Coach, I was telling Skip how you were coaching me about how corners play the position. You were showing me.
Doing a good job.
I know. Education.
Learning this game.
And oh, by the way, Skip, real quick, Tom Jackson, my man Keyshawn, Chris Carter, and those boys, huge help as well. I cannot take credit from any of y'all.
Shout out to the county crew and Herm.
That hasn't helped you in picking games so far this year.
That's true.
A whole nother issue.
We knew it was coming. We needed the
I got a
backhanded
few of them right,
compliment.
Skip. Skip, you're just beating me the first 2 weeks,
Okay,
but
it's just 2 weeks. It's early.
got more than half. I got
know.
more than half my picks right. You just got me by about 4 games.
Okay.
That's
Now
all.
I'm a prop for you to jinx the teams that you want. I see what you did earlier. I didn't get it.
I see how he rubs it in. It's
Are you
okay.
going to pick Detroit?
Huh?
Yeah,
Detroit?
now because your
I'm
back's
not picking
against the wall.
Detroit. Back to business. I agree with everything you said about the Lions. But here's what's ironic about it. I always thought something was missing on that football team with Sue on it.
Yeah.
Something was missing.
No.
Now a whole lot more is missing, right?
Right.
There's a Matthew Stafford issue. He's beat up. We know that. He's got some physical ailments. We know that. But
And mental ailments.
okay, well, here's my point. Now, I don't want to be too harsh here, because I like him personally a lot. Good guy.
So do I.
Okay, but he's like a more talented Kirk Cousins, in that sometimes when you least expect it, he'll start throwing it to the other team like crazy.
Yeah.
He will, and he'll miss throws. He comes and goes. When he's on, he could be big time on. But right now, he's not. His team's not on. All the things you guys said. So I like Peyton and his team, and I'm glad you brought it up. The wind changed directions up there in the Rocky Mountains last week, even though it was going on in Kansas City. But there was a big wind change from north to south, because I think Gary Kubiak finally realized I still have to let him do what he does, even at 39.
Yep.
I have to. It's our only chance, because we have a hellacious defense. It could be the best defense in football right now. It's hard to score on this team. It's hard to do much against them. They're all over the field. They're athletic. They play fast. They play physical for.
Reminds me of the Orange Crush.
It is kind of Orange Crushy. It is. That's we're going way back into our day, but they're orange crushing people.
You're right.
So look, Peyton Manning's QBR, and I know I love this stat, but it's all the way down to 41, scale of 0 to 100. That ranks 20. You pointed out in reverse, but it's 29th out of 32. Now here's the great irony of that. The three below him are all former #1 overall picks. Andrew Luck, Alex Smith, Sam Bradford. They all went #1, and they're below him in QBR. This will probably change. But look, the reason Peyton's is a little misleading is that the other night against the arch rival in their asylum of a stadium, and you
Oh,
coach there.
tell you what.
Okay, hey, does it
Our
get much
place to
louder?
play doesn't get, it was,
Ooh,
yeah,
ooh.
unbelievable.
Okay, so there's 2:27 left in the game. It's teetering, and Peyton says, "Watch this." I thought that was special because
No doubt.
Peyton Manning said, "I'm going to go 80 yards in 10 plays. I'm going to hit my little guy, Emmanuel Sanders, our friend of our show, for 19 yards for the winning touchdown."
Yeah.
That's vintage Peyton, right?
Oh.
I thought he looked like 29-year-old Peyton.
Let me ask
right?
you this, though, Skip, and Stephen A. can probably chime in on this, too. When he got the ball in the last possession, there was no doubt in my mind. I go, he's going to do this.
You did? Okay.
He's just going to do it. He's
All
just
right.
going to.
Okay.
They've given him too many chances not to do it.
All right.
He's going to find a way to do it. He did it.
Well, then he's fine. He's just fine, and they're going to be just fine, and they're going to win their division. I don't see any threat.
We're all
agree.
betting
Yeah, I
on number
picked it too.
18 here. Going Denver, clean sweep, and imagine
Totally
they start
agree.
running the ball well. Herm, I know you got to run. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
Good seeing you, Stephen A.
All right, Coach.
All right.
See you
Brandon
Sunday.
Marshall calls Odell Beckham the most entertaining player in the NFL right now. I like this background music. The guys will tell you if they agree. That's next after the break.